Assalamualaikum. Hi guys, this is Sarah. Today I wanted to tell you why I do not fast for Ramadan. And hang on, before anybody opens up that comment section and starts typing, "Oh my god, Sarah, you're so haram, how dare you? I cannot believe you're not fasting for Ramadan, this is so haram, ah!" Stop, hang on. I'm going to tell you why I do not fast for Ramadan, and I hope that you'll listen before anybody types in a comment, okay? So, to give some background to you guys, I am a convert to Islam. I converted back in 2010. When I converted back in 2010, I was 14 years old. I was living with my parents, and at that time, they were pretty Islamophobic. They have since, changed their stance on that, but that is what it was at that time. From the time I was 14 to the time I was 17, I was not allowed by them to fast during Ramadan. They would make me eat at certain times to be sure that I wasn't fasting and that kind of thing. But as I said, over time, their views softened right before I was married, which was shortly after I turned 18. I started wearing hijab, and I also fasted for that Ramadan before I left my parents' house to live at my husband's house, because I got married actually right after Ramadan of that year, which was in 2013. So that was the first Ramadan I fasted. I released a video a long time ago when I was a brand new baby Muslim about how sad I was that I couldn't fast. Because obviously it was a very important thing for me as a convert, because, this is something that not only is a huge part of Ramadan, but it's something that, people are very excited for as a community, as Muslims, right? That everybody is hyping up Ramadan and hyping up fasting for like a month before Ramadan even comes, right? So it was very important to me. My first fast when I was 18 went great. Obviously, the biggest thing for me was not being able to have water. That was hard, but I don't think that it was harder than anybody else's fasting. So I fasted another, I think, 4 Ramadans, or actually another 3 Ramadans after that first Ramadan that I fasted. And the next one that I fasted was fine, same as the first one. And then the third one felt harder for some reason. I was feeling not great. My body was feeling weak. I was feeling sick. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. I don't know why that's getting harder. And then the next Ramadan after that, when I was fasting, I felt even worse than that third Ramadan. And I was feeling really sick and really weak and really bad. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. It should be getting easier. Why isn't it getting easier? My first 2 Ramadans were pretty easy, not that bad. In fact, they were actually at a hotter time in the year than the ones that were harder I was fasting at. So I was like, okay, that's, pretty weird. And right before the next Ramadan after that, I went to a doctor's appointment, and this doctor that I go to is a specialist. I have a very serious medical condition, which I have mentioned previously in some of my videos, and so I see a doctor for that. This doctor that I see also happens to be an imam that I know, luckily. So he's a doctor and an imam. And so I was talking to him, and we were kind of chatting while I was having, my doctor's appointment, and I told him, hey, you know what? I don't know if this has to do with anything, but the last 2 Ramadans that I've fasted, I've been feeling really weak, I've been feeling really sick and really tired, and I feel like it's, not normal, because other Ramadans that I fasted before that weren't like that. And do you have any, insight as to why this is happening? And he was like, wait a second. You're fasting? Because he actually wasn't my doctor before. I think he became my doctor when I turned 19. I had to switch doctors, and so I just think he assumed that my previous doctor had discussed fasting with me, and so he didn't realize that I was actually fasting. And he was like, wait a second. He's like, you should not be fasting with your condition at all. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure that I shouldn't be fasting? And he's like, I am absolutely sure. He's like, I have read studies about people fasting for Ramadan, not just any kind of fasting in general, but people fasting for Ramadan with your condition. It is extremely bad for you, and you could go into kidney failure. I have a kidney disease. So he's like, you could go into kidney failure from fasting the whole month of Ramadan. And I was like, oh my God, you know, my condition, and probably the reason why it was easy at first and then it was getting harder, is because my condition is a progressive condition and it's gotten worse over the years. And so at the beginning it wasn't so bad, and then later it was, you know, pretty bad and really difficult for me to fast because I didn't realize that I shouldn't be fasting with my medical condition. And so I, you know, even asked him stuff like, well, what if I fasted during the winter when it's only, you know, a few hours of the day and it's not that hot? And he said, no. He said, even if you were fasting for one day, I would be concerned as to the effects on your body because of how serious this is for your medical condition. And I was like, wow, okay. I guess I can't fast anymore. And so my first reaction was to feel really sad. I think that probably anybody would feel that as a Muslim, being told that they can't, you know, participate in this major thing anymore. Because if you think about it, that actually even includes optional fasts, by the way. But even just for Ramadan, for Ramadan, that is a huge thing, taking away getting to fast, because that's something that you do with everybody. That's a major thing that everybody talks about and everybody hypes up, right? And so, and of course, it's obviously also a big demonstration of submission to Allah to fast for the entire month of Ramadan. So I was really sad at first, but honestly, very quickly, that turned into a feeling of major relief because I had felt how bad it was for my body. And by the way, fasting is usually medically beneficial for people, but of course, our religion has addressed that for some people, fasting is not medically beneficial. And so there is, obviously, a exception for people who have medical conditions in which they cannot fast. And so if you have a medical condition where you can't fast, you have to feed, you know, a certain amount of poor people for every day that you have missed. And you can also do a payment in order to feed the equivalent amount of poor people. And I believe that is called, I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced, but to me it phonetically looks like it's pronounced fidya. I think that it's spelled F-I-D-Y-H-A. So I pay that payment every Ramadan for all 30 days that I've missed for my fasting. Islamic Relief USA says that amount should be about $300 USD if you're from the US. So I, pay that for every Ramadan that I've missed. And I think that now this Ramadan coming up is gonna be my third, I think, Ramadan that I have not fasted, or possibly the fourth. I'm getting a bit mixed up with the years here, but I haven't been fasting for a while, you guys, and I want to give some tips to people who also might have a very serious medical condition about not fasting for Ramadan, because if you have a very serious medical condition, first of all, you really need to talk to your doctor about fasting, because I guess I was just silly and didn't think about it and didn't talk to my doctor, and I was hurting my body during that time by not talking to my doctor. And, there's a lot of valid reasons for why somebody with a very serious medical condition might be exempt from fasting, which would include, things like me, where it's actively harming your body, but also things like where you absolutely have to take a medication on certain, time frames where you can't avoid that and things like that. So please talk to your doctor. And if you feel like you need to consult somebody religiously about this as well, beyond what just your doctor says, try to see if you can consult somebody in the community that has a medical degree. Of course, we have tons of doctors in our community. See if you are able to consult somebody and see if they can help you out with figuring out if there's any studies about your condition or what the Islamic ruling is regarding whatever your condition is. So, but obviously, please consult your doctor first before you consult anybody in the community to see what they say about it and what their advice is. So additionally, as far as like my tips for what I have done since I've stopped fasting during Ramadan, and what I hope that you'll take away is, my first tip is don't hide yourself away. I also feel the same way for women who are not fasting because they're on their period. You don't need to like sneak into the kitchen and, get a quick sip of water and then run away to your room. You have a halal reason for not fasting, okay? You are not supposed to fast. This is both for people on their period, obviously, and people who are medically exempt from fasting. You do not have to fast. And so why would you sneak around and pretend like you're fasting just for the benefit of other people when what you're doing is halal, right? I mean, doesn't that seem kind of silly to anybody else? I'm not saying that you have to take a big drink of water and sit in front of somebody who's fasting and go, oh yeah, don't you wish that you were able to drink too? Isn't this so good? Yeah, I'm not saying that you have to do that, but I'm saying you don't have to hide and pretend like you're not getting food or water. My second tip is, if you are not fasting because you have a medical condition, discuss it openly with other people. Here's the thing. Because I'm a woman, people might go, oh, she's just, not fasting right now, or she's eating or drinking because she's on her period. But if somebody sees me multiple times throughout the whole month and they're going, Sarah hasn't been fasting all month, why isn't she fasting? And this, men have pretty much almost no excuse besides medical exemption for eating and drinking. So my advice is that, discuss it openly with people. I'm not saying you have to megaphone and shout to everybody, but discuss it openly with people that you're around, that, yeah, I have a serious medical condition, I don't fast, it's disappointing that I don't get to fast, but this is something that I do for my health. Because this is going to sound a bit weird, but there is a benefit to preventing gossip. And I'm talking about an Islamic benefit. I'm not just saying that, oh, there's a benefit to people not gossiping about you. Yeah, of course there is, because nobody wants somebody gossiping about them. But the other Islamic benefit to preventing people from gossiping about you is that even though each person has a Islamic, requirement upon them to not gossip about other people, if you take the extra step to clear away confusion from the minds of other Muslims in order to prevent gossip, there's no you're helping to prevent the sins of other people, and so you get an Islamic benefit from that. Do you see what I'm saying? That, say that I'm, eating and drinking and I'm having a good old time, and people are going, why isn't Sarah fasting? She's really bad. Why isn't she fasting this whole month? But if I just tell people, yeah, I'm not allowed to fast, it's disappointing or whatever, then people don't have a reason to say that, and they don't, they can avoid that sin. And even though it's their responsibility, you helped them to avoid that sin, and that's a benefit for you. So, their responsibility, but something good for you as well. My next tip is that you can always ramp up any of the other good parts about Ramadan and enjoy those other parts besides fasting, right? So Ramadan is the month of the Quran, right? And so you can enjoy as much as you want reading Quran or doing Taraweeh, or, you know, having fun at iftar or doing suhoor with other people, you know, because it's, you know, you don't have to obviously fast, but you're allowed to come and have iftar with people, and to, if somebody invites you to, you and your husband or something, to suhoor, you can come and do that. There's no harm in that. And you can do other things as well, like doing good deeds for other people and helping them out with things that maybe everybody else is a little bit knocked out because they've been fasting all day, but you have the energy still to go out and help people, or maybe help them out with tasting the cooking, right? That's a benefit for both of us. That you can help out other people, and that's a good deed that you can participate in even though you aren't fasting, right? And my last tip is never feel bad for something that you have to do for the benefit of your own body, but also that it is halal, right? Because people want to try to be like, well, what if you did this? Could you fast then? I mean, you know, people could go over 1,000 different scenarios of what if I did this, or what if I did that, could I fast then? And I even asked my own doctor, what if I could, what if I just fast during the winter, and that kind of thing. But if somebody has a medical reason they're not fasting, they're probably not just looking to get out of fasting for Ramadan, and they've probably thought about those things, you know. So I would say it's halal. It's something that you can't do because you have a medical condition. That is okay. So please, you know, don't feel badly about doing something beneficial for your body. Feel relief and gratitude that Allah has provided this mercy for people like myself and like you, if you have a serious medical condition, that we do not have to fast and we do not have to put ourselves through that because we have something already very serious going on in our lives, right? So I hope that this benefited you guys, hearing about why I don't fast for Ramadan, especially if you have a serious medical condition, or maybe you know somebody that does. And I hope that you guys are enjoying this Ramadan to your fullest, and that I will be seeing you guys around in the future on this channel. If you guys like this video, please like the video and subscribe, and I hope to be hearing from you guys again soon. Thank you so much, and Assalamu alaikum.